Great. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Little warm-up time coming. Hi, Neff. Uh, I let me sort of give a preface here. Um, Hi, Steve. The what I want to do today, I had said some things about really not wanting to have watches with silicone hairsprings in them. Generally, no silicone at all. And every time I say that, like right now, people say, "Well, why is that?" There was one guy who just said, "Well, so and so who is now a rep for or spokesperson for Breguet and for Blancpain, Blancpain, one of the two, said that." Well, silicon was sort of sort of a progress, part of progress, and so that's what I wanted to talk about. How come I'm not crazy about it? And I want to start off. Hi, Tuna. Uh, Hi, Maslow time. How you doing? Wait, Markle time. Markle time. Good to see you. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Hey, Licks. Hey, Rich Jr. How you guys doing? Anyway, here's what I hope to do. Um, First of all, the the let me go into the history a little of why we have luxury watches. Okay, our sort of a certain kind of luxury watch. Um, the significance of this one I brought with. This is a Roger Dubuis sympathy. And this particular one, all of them have, as a matter of fact, they have Geneva seals. This has got a Geneva seal, um, Vacheron, Constantinus, all of these other ones. And at one time, most of them were with Patek Philippe. Well, in 2009, right around there, 2009 didn't like the fact that the Geneva seal was did not include watches with silicon. All right. And so that's why Patek Philippe said, well, heck with you. We're going to have our own good seal of approval, so to speak. We don't need the Geneva seal. And I think that the deal killer in the whole thing was that they had silicon. So let me explain. So in the future, when somebody says, "How come you don't care for silicon on your watches?" I can simply give them the link to this discussion. Okay, let me explain the background. Rancher, how you doing? Tim, Lee, hi Lee, Canadian Watch Monkey. Good to see you guys. Um, Okay, yeah, it's something, it's like I don't think it's a good idea to be sort of like, fascist about one way or the other. This people ask me why I didn't like it. It's the only reason I don't like it. It doesn't mean that everybody doesn't have to like it. There are a lot of watches that I don't have, and some people get sort of, well, how come you don't have this or how come you don't have that? Because I don't. That's about it. I feel the same way about silicon. Let me sort of rewind though to where sort of the silicon thing goes back to. Once upon a time, there was what they call the Great Quartz Crisis. This happened in the 60s and 70s when the Japanese came out with these quartz watches that were run by batteries that had accuracy that just wiped out everybody else. I mean, incredibly accurate watches. Well, the Swiss, I mean, they got in real trouble at that time, and a lot of companies got bought up, or one thing or the other happened to them. And so they said, okay, well, what we're going to do is that what we want to have Swiss watches. We don't want we don't want quartz. We want to have traditional masterwork. We're going to have the master watchmakers, and that's what's going to be important. Is sort of the art and science of mechanical watches. And if you look at quartz, nothing wrong with quartz. I mean, really, they have really super accurate watches. So why didn't everybody go to quartz back then? Because after all, quartz is nothing but silicon and oxygen. Well, because that would have pretty much wiped out the entire Swiss watch business. And so they had to come up with one thing after another, high horology and this and that and the other thing. And so going back, everything was going to be dealing with traditional materials. Recently, I read a thing by Roger Smith. And Roger Smith, of course, he doesn't use silicon in any of his watches. And he pointed out, he says, I can get a watch, 200 and 300 years old and clean it up and it still works fine with those materials. And he said, we don't know, 200 and 300 years, you think your your silicon's still going to be there? I don't know, maybe it will be. I have no idea. And so basically it sort of goes back to that. Yes, here are the advantages of silicon in either in escapements or in hairsprings. The main advantage, at least as far as I'm concerned, is that they don't get magnetized. In other words, their magnetic fields, which we just live in a million of them, don't affect it. Okay, so no magnetic fields. Second of all, in heat and cold, your hairspring is going to expand or contract a little with most of the metals that they use in, well, I'll call them traditional metals or transitional metals, as opposed to metalloids, which includes silicon. Okay, so I mean, it's like, but so I know the advantages, and those are advantages. The disadvantages is one with silicon hairsprings, you can't adjust the spring itself because silicon's too brittle. If you try to use like a swan net regulator that pushes it one way or the other, it's not gonna work. And so you can't. They're all free sprung. You cannot have a curb regulator with a silicon hairspring. Okay, and so to me, it's just sort of like I like the traditional stuff. Uh, and they talk about advances. Advances. This is my Fitbit. My Fitbit can, tells all kinds of stuff. Keeps extremely accurate time. It's a smartwatch. You get an Apple smartwatch, and it's going to tell you who's going to win the World Cup. So we can't really talk about someone says, well, silicon is really an advancement. Not in timekeeping. No, it's not. Atomic clocks are, smartwatches are, even quartz watches. Mechanical watches are an archaic, but really fun technology. That's how I see it. Now, if somebody says, I'm going to get a Patek Philippe. It's got a silicon hairspring, and you can go jump in a lake. I don't care. I mean, it's like I think people get sort of crazy. They say, well, you got to do this or you got to do that. Now, three major companies were the ones who were behind sort of this originally. One was Patek Philippe, one was Rolex, and the other one was Swatch. If Swatch owns so many different watch companies that you'll see a lot of silicon hairsprings in different watches they have. You also find what I was surprised to find. I did a video the other day, and I found out that a lot of them still don't. There's this really interesting Hamilton with an ETA movement in it, and the ETA, I forgot the numbers of the ETA, but it's this really interesting ETA that is a modified 28, 29, 24, something like that. I don't remember exact 6924, I think. I'm not positive. But they fixed that thing up and they did some things to it. First of all, they'd have three staffs for the regulator. And but in looking at it, the first of all, I noticed that it had a two kinds of regulators. So there's a sort of dial regulator, and then there's the regulator that's in the watch for making fine adjustments. Okay, and I noticed that they had a curb regulator, so that means it didn't have a silicone hairspring. Okay, so you find things like that. Rolex chose not to put this, even though they had access to the silicone hairspring, they decided not to put it in their watches. They have a very good hairspring called the Parachrome, made of niobium and chromium, and it's non-magnetic. One of the brilliant hairsprings is by H. Moser from Precision Engineering. It's called the Straussmann hairspring. I have two watches in it. Neither one of them has ever gotten magnetized. Now, on the other hand, my Patek Philippe, not this one, but my Chronomet Surveying, that gets magnetized all the time. I love that watch, but every now and then I'll notice, oh, it's running slow. I better take it into the demag machine I've got and demagnetize it. I'm not sure what kind of hairsprings FP Journe uses, but some of them can get magnetized. This Chronomet Resonance never does, and I don't know why. My Chronomet Surveying does, and the other one doesn't. But we live with mysteries. Okay, so that's basically, it's like two things. One, I don't care for the silicone hairsprings because you cannot you can't use them with a curb regulator, swan neck, or anything like that. They're out. Second of all, the if I want the most accurate watch ever, I'll get an Apple Watch. That's I use. Actually, I could just look at my little Fitbit. It keeps perfectly accurate time. I can check with my computer or my iPhone. Those are the real advances, and there's probably an internet connection that it has to an atomic clock in the middle of a mountain somewhere that has perfect time. So I mean that's the whole thing about it. But somebody has well said I've got one with a silicone hairspring. And I wear it to work every day. I got an Omega with a a Seamaster or something. Wear it to work every day. It keeps beautiful time. Good. That's nice. It's not a matter of hating them. Some people they figure, well, if you don't want one, you must hate them. Got nothing against them. I just sort of decided I want to have a traditional watch collection. Not everybody does. Okay. Okay, that's it. That's all there is to it. It's not like they're going to silicon is going to eat a hole in your watch or gobble up your arm or anything like that. It's just a matter of taste. Okay, boy, you guys have opinions. Let's see what you say. Um, is buying a secondhand Tag Heuer Carrera Chrono a good idea? I think it's about 10 years old. It's brown, $1,700. I don't like chronographs either. Sorry, Martin. I'm not a chronograph fan. I got nothing against them. I own two of them. I don't like them because they mess up the dial and I never use the chronograph function. I mean, we all can like or dislike whatever we want. A lot of guys don't like tonneau or rectangular shaped watches. That's fine. I think in fact, Rolex got rid of not Rolex, but Patek Philippe got rid of their entire line of gondolas because people weren't that interested in them. They wanted round watches, and that's fine. It's sort of like you've got to have a good reason not to like the watch that I like. That's baloney. The thing is that I don't own a Rolex. I don't hate Rolexes, and in fact, the fact that Rolex chose between going with silicon and not, I have a great deal of respect for that. I mean, so you've got these, and people got to chill out a little. They go crazy. Hey, Truman, how you doing? Hobby, how are you? Um, Have Omega gone over to tuna? Yeah, they've got a lot of them. See, the thing is that I think at some there's the funny thing about Swatch watches and silicon, they seem to be charging more for the ones with silicon. Uh, there's an ETA that has there's called CO something something dot 6 dot 7 and dot 8, and I think the ones with dot 8 are the ones with silicon, the other ones don't, which is sort of an interesting thing, you know. um okay, what's Rancher up to? Okay, let's see. Hi, Mr. Valju. It seems to me this topic is predicated on how one perceives value. How do we as horologists define value? Materials, design, so forth. Yeah, you're right, Mr. Valju. And that's all it is. It's simply a value statement. It doesn't mean, anything. Jeff, what about Navarox, etc.? Yeah, you know, uh, Jeff, I found out that a lot of the watches that are part of Swatch still use a Navarox, or Nivarox, how you pronounce it. Um, but apparently, I guess there, were, I found out some other hairspring makers like Alto Kalpa are introducing silicon hairsprings as an option. Hey, Koji. Okay, people are telling me why they use their chronographs. Okay, they got to time something. I, uh, this is the watch I use for timing stuff. It has no second hand. It just, I'll be, I got to start this in an hour. Oh, okay, that's about it. This one's got two hands that are in total sync. It's all this thing is a magic watch as far as I'm concerned. It's a resonance watch, and how resonance keeps outside interference out by creating its own resonance, and coordinating things. That to me is like a sort of a fun thing. It's like I certainly wouldn't say, oh, well, if you don't have a resonance watch, you got junk. Not true. People go crazy that way. Okay. Hi, Girard-Perregaux Latour. I have a Lang 1815 annual Ken. What do you think of it? I think it's great. Um, okay, let's see. Canadian Watch Monkey. Did you get a chance to check out the Serica 5003? Boy, maybe I did. I'm not sure. I don't remember it though. Hi, Lix. At the beach now, so wearing my G-Shock. You bet. No silicone, and that thing is full of silicone. There you go. Now, you have a watch like G-Shock. You use that for bar fights, going to the beach, drunk driving. There's all kinds of good uses for it. I wouldn't take out my really good watch just to something like that. Planet Earth, what's up? I tried to buy a FP Journe watch from Hourglass. It was really hard. AD was like, haven't seen any. Planet Earth. I was at the FP Journe boutique last year in 2020. What is it? 20. Wait, or it was either earlier this year or last year. I forgot what. It was at the New York boutique, and they said they were all sold out for the next year. It's really, they're very popular. I don't know. I can't afford them anymore. I mean, I could no more. I could afford watch like this than fly without an airplane. It just the prices went crazy. Um, that'll happen. They'll kind of hi Andres. All Omegas except the 321 have silicon. Yes, that 321. I love the 321. I was looking for the 321 the other day and couldn't find it, so I'm glad to hear it's still around. Hey, John, important part of chronographs is how how and where the small seconds are. That, if you're gonna get a chronograph and you really want something innovative, get the one that Agenor made, what they call the Agengraph. They have those in H. Mosers, Singer, and Fabergé. Those three have that incredible chronograph, and it doesn't do it with dials all over the place. And it's one of the, I mean, it's the most innovative one I think since the El Primero, whenever that came out. Hey, what? Let's see. Hey, Dean. Good morning. I don't know much about silicon or silicon parts. I don't know, but I feel that old watchmaking is the best. Small independent. Oh yeah, those are. Here's the thing. I have a good watch is going to be a good watch whether it's made by some guy who lives on a mountaintop and is a genius, or they crank out a lot of them. It's a good watch is done well. And I prefer independence because you have sort of more watchmaking rather than sort of machinery thought out. Sort of a goofy way of putting it. Okay, Judd. Got to know where the small seconds are on a chronograph. I agree. Okay, let's see. Drunk driving. Yeah, that's just kidding. Don't drive and drink. I prefer a platinum day date for bar fights. Doubles as a knuckle duster. There you go. Why didn't I think of that? So this is, man, I tell you, this is a great look at that thing. You can knock somebody in the noggin with that. It's game over. Um, Deep seas are good for bar fights. Boy, you guys seem to know a lot about bar fights. That's good to know. I have a bizarre Japanese food silicon hairspring analogy that I'll leave later in the comment section. Okay, Koji. Okay. See, man in his watch, Arthur. Matt Hannock is involved in with Circa watches. Okay. Um, the topic has me thinking, could paramagnetic hairsprings represent universal truth in watchmaking? I don't know. I don't know about that. Well, look at the. I mean, it's not. There are a lot of non-magnetic. I don't think a lot of the things they talk about them being anti-magnetic. I don't think they're anti-magnetic. I think they're just like wood. they're they're not magnetic. Plastic. Here's a plastic handle on a micro on my magnifying glass. Really good stuff. Not magnetic. People act like, oh well, silicon must be magic. Why not use plastic? Some of them do too. Or nylon. There are a lot of nylon parts. That stuff will last forever. Then the next millennium when the dinosaurs come back, they'll probably be extinct again from eating up all of the nylon. Um, so you say you're good with silicon using other parts. You know, um, I'm not good with it, but I mean it's not the same thing. I mean, if you have, for example, a pallet fork uh, with silicon pallets, other than man-made rubies, rather than mined rubies, for example. I don't know. For some reason, it doesn't bother me that much. Uh, Roger Smith, though, it does bother. He said that you don't know what's going to happen to those things. Maybe they'll get creepy later on. I, I don't know. I don't think so. I think silicon is the most common element I think on Earth. I think I could be wrong. So there's plenty of it to go around, and so it's not an endangered species. That's good to know. I don't know. I don't want to accuse watch companies of cutting corners, okay? And I do know that to develop a good uh, non-magnetic hairspring is expensive. I know that Rolex spent a lot to develop their Parachrome hairspring, H. Moser to develop their Strassmann hairspring, but I also know, and this is what we don't hear about at all. H. Moser produces like maybe what 2,000 watches a year, maybe three, but they have like 50,000 hairsprings. What's going on with that? Something's going on. I mean, that could take care of just about every independent. There are other companies like Atacalpa, which is part of the vertical hierarchy of the Sandoz Family Foundation. It owns Parmigiani and Vasseur. They also make hairsprings, but they were like hundreds of thousands of hairsprings. So there's stuff going on that they don't tell us about. We got to find out about. There's stuff on silicon hairsprings in there. That's okay. I mean, fine. They can. I don't know. They can put as far as I'm concerned, they can put a hamster on a running wheel to run a watch. But I like what I like, and other people they could be the same. Hi, Anthony. I think people are more taken by the engineering craftsmanship instead of materials. Well, if that's the case, Anthony, then get smartwatch. I used to do programming on when the stuff first came out. They did programming for wrote some stuff for my iPhone and some other things like that. They changed their policies and then creating a writing programs to add functionality to a smartwatch is very, very simple. I mean, if you have something, you don't need something like a Remontoy Egalite, which is very difficult, or a tourbillon, which is also very difficult, or a double hairspring, which is very difficult. Programming, I could do all of those things. Also, to note, you have a lot of inexpensive chronographs that have quartz movements in it. What's going on? What's up with that? um, I guess it boils down to your collection philosophy. Audi. Yeah, I think so too. I agree with that. The benefits of silicon are undeniable. Right. So is a smartwatch. So is quartz. The benefit there. Okay, so you got benefits. However, you decide on what you want. It's sort of like you know getting getting your wife a diamond. All right. I don't know if you can tell the difference. I sure can't between uh, a man-made diamond and a real one. I said, well, if you look at a real one, you can see different facets and things like that. You can fake it too. You can fake. There's all kinds of things going out there that people have made fake ones of. So that's sort of the way it is to me. You're going to give your wife a mine diamond. Um, that's a non-conflict diamond. Let me tell you about that too. This is sort of funny. I think the De Beers, I don't know what you'd call it. It's sort of mega monopoly on diamonds. The De Beers company has that. Okay, so they all the diamonds, and then there's something you probably heard of called conflict diamonds. They made movies about it. Says, oh, don't get conflict diamonds; they're bad. Well, there are a lot of executives from De Beers who couldn't come to the United States because they would be under indictment for anti-monopoly charges. Uh, and some guy, some dictator in some place, or some democratically elected uh, character in some country in Africa, let's say, that doesn't go along with that, and they start selling their own diamonds on the what's considered the black market instead of through De Beers is considered conflict diamond. Really is. Okay, let's see. H. Moser's number one dental implant. Well, they were, yeah. At one time, they had a lot of. They do more than just making watches. Um, uh, what do you make of carbon fiber parts? You know, um, it depends on the part of the carbon fiber. I have part of my dial on my Easy Diver, which is sort of like this, except it's an Easy Diver and has some other things to it. But a lot of it is made of the dial part is made of carbon fiber. Carbon fiber, though, that's a good question, though, because there are some things talk about using carbon fiber, in, which is also non-magnetic in watch parts. Carbon fiber or carbon, some other kind of thing. That's a little different. I'm not sure about what I think about that. Same thing with plastic. You know, you could put in a lot of parts that are plastic. They work pretty well. Diamonds are a huge scam. Yeah, they are. They very much are. Swan's neck regulator on a line is the beauty to behold, I must say. Yeah, Truman, I agree. They're on any watch. But what do they have on a what is it? Moulet uh, glass glass Huda. They got a woodpecker. That's what they call their swan neck. They got a woodpecker regulator. I love that thing. Frying pan time. Okay, Rancher. Rancher, if you got a second, I'd give you. I'd like to say hello. Anyway, guys. Okay, I see you're having Oklahoma cuisine there, Lee. I I thought what the old joke about a six-course dinner there is a armadillo and a six pack. Hey, let's see. Carbon fiber worries me because it can uh, delaminate. Okay, well then I wouldn't want it for that. Raj, what do you think about aluminum watch cases? Raj, they're okay. They're part of a transitional metal. I don't like them because they are so light, very very light. And I like watches with some heft to them. Okay, guys, got to run. Thank you all for dropping by. And going to have another topic this afternoon that's very different, but I wanted to have some place I could say, okay, this is. People keep asking, well, what about how come you don't like this? And this is why. It's not I hate it. I don't hate it. And there are lots, like I said, there are lots of advantages. But in terms of collecting watches, I just don't want silicon hairsprings in mine. Take care. Be safe.